Hello, everybody. I'm Lori Jo Vest with Top Speed Digital Marketing, and my partner in crime here, Kylie Metcalf, is also joining us. We are with Pop Speed, a digital marketing shop that's focused on helping busy leaders create and deploy effective social media marketing. And today we're going to talk about company culture. And it might seem strange, like, why is a digital agency talking about company culture? But I have run businesses and led creative teams, etc., for probably 30 years of my career. And there's a lot of things that I've learned over the years that I wanted to share. And we were talking in one of our morning huddles. We have those 4 days a week with our team. We have a completely remote team. And I wanted to share some of the things that we do that help us keep our culture healthy and relevant to our team. So, Kylie, I'm going to let you kick us off. If you want to go ahead, and I'll go to the next slide.
Yeah.
There we go.
So, in my experience too, I've come Pop Speed is my after graduating in 2019, it's my fourth job out of school. So, I've kind of personally dealt with a few different cultures. I've been really lucky and blessed overall with a lot of positive culture, but I also have a little bit of insight into a culture that doesn't necessarily empower and motivate employees as much. So, coming to Pop Speed, it was almost culture shock in the best way possible to be introduced to like a work culture, although remote, that still empowers our team on a daily basis, leaves us without Sunday scaries every Sunday, and kind of makes us
Isn't that
excited
the
to,
best?
yeah, I mean, it's what a concept. So for us, we think that we've cracked the code because we're a happy, healthy team. We like talking to each other. We're interested in what each other is interested in. We talk about those things. We ease into the week. And we figured, why not share that? A little change of pace for our LinkedIn lives, but we have a lot to talk
Yeah.
about.
Absolutely. And I think the idea of approaching culture as an integral part of your company development, instead of just thinking, hey, let's have pizza Fridays and put in a foosball table and a walking treadmill desk and call that culture. I mean, I've even worked places where there was a kegerator in the kitchen. That's not culture. So,
Right.
what we're talking about here is culture, and healthy culture is different. We have a priority at Pop Speed for building positive, connected relationships. And that's one of the things that I picked up in my career 30 plus years ago with my first boss, that being in connected, positive relationships with your employer, your coworkers, your clients, your vendors is really critical to success in business. So why not bring that into your culture and make sure that you have that healthy connection to your people? And that is way beyond pizza parties and, games.
Yeah.
And the reason we mentioned Taylor Swift is because we have all been interested in her new relationship. So
A lot of
how does
Swifties on the
something
team.
like yeah, how does something like that fit in, Kylie?
Well, it's a little play on, what's going to work for you and your company. For us, we've got some Swifties on the team. So when we have our morning huddles, when we're kind of easing into our workday, we like to start it off by talking about what's going on in the world, what's going on in each other's lives, anything like that to kind of ease into the day. So for us, for the past few weeks, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce have been a bit of a topic of conversation because we're all very invested. So it's kind of our way of implying, by getting to know your team, by caring about what they care about and starting the day with fun conversations like that, it's a great way to ease into each day.
Yes, and I think we found out that two of us were top five Taylor Swift listeners in our
I think there's
Spotify year
three
in
of us.
review.
I think
Three
it
of
was
us had
three of us.
Taylor.
Yep.
You can't ignore her. She's
Yep.
brilliant.
She is
So
everywhere.
she is. And we talk about that kind of thing and some personal things because we take an interest in each other. And that's a huge part of a healthy culture. So there they are, our two favorite people on the planet
In all
right
their
now
glory.
in all their glory. So yeah, it's really fun. It's been really fun to watch. Personally, I'm really enjoying it. So there are three things that are at the heart of a successful, effective culture. And those three things are integrity, kindness, and enthusiasm. And you will find that at Pop Speed Digital. We may make an effort to live by those three concepts. Kylie, how do you think that plays out?
Well, I think it's a trickle down effect. I think it kind of starts from the top. Obviously, you starting the company, it's something that's been important to you throughout your career. Um, for anyone who wouldn't know, I was the first outside hire for Pop Speed. So it was kind of number one, right?
She's number
Um,
one.
so it was kind of ingrained in me initially. And luckily, as I said, I came from cultures that were really positive as well. Um, so it was really interesting to see. For me personally, I hadn't had any other remote work experiences, and I was very new to that whole concept when COVID hit. So to be able to instill these pillars into our DNA from not even just different homes now, but different states, is really interesting. And I think it is essential that it starts from the top, and that we we're led by example in all of these concepts. And I think just by nature of practice and putting these three pillars first in our day to day with each other, with our clients, with our vendors, with prospective clients, it's really become ingrained in our DNA.
It has. And now that doesn't mean that everybody and that you encounter in your day to day is going to appreciate your integrity, your kindness, or
Right.
your enthusiasm. You may come across some people who just aren't up for that, in which case you may have to dismiss them from your client or employee roster. We are really specific about the types of clients that we work with too, because that has an impact on your team. And if you tolerate bad behavior on behalf of a client, you are actually putting your bread and butter, your team, and their happiness at risk. So
Mm-hmm.
we are really, we have a no assholes allowed policy because of that, not on the team, not on the client roster, not in the vendor space. If you can't be, have integrity, be kind, and act with enthusiasm, we might not be a fit for you. And that's okay
Mm-hmm.
because there are other companies that prioritize different things. So moving along, what do we mean by integrity? This is a tough one because I've had people tell me that they had integrity right after they lied to someone to make them feel bad about something they did. This was a few years back, and probably 12 years back. We had a client, we had a company that was next door to us that had audio rooms. And there was an audio tech guy that was a little waffly. Everybody loved him, but if he said he was going to be there at 9 a.m., he might not be there till 2. And that was okay with the bosses. But there was a situation where somebody that was working for the company decided that since the guy didn't show up at 9 and he got there at 2, that it would be make him feel bad by telling him that they had to turn away work. They didn't turn away any work. And so when I heard that story, I questioned it and said, well, what about your integrity? Because you basically told him a lie. I have integrity, was the response. Well, if you're lying to a vendor, you don't have integrity. You can always be honest. You can say it's really upsetting, and I'm really grateful that we didn't have a client scheduled to come in or that nobody called. If they had, we would have been in a really bad spot and we would have lost money. That's going to make the guy feel bad too. So lying to someone is to me a non-negotiable. And I think Kylie, you've seen that that's really how we
Yeah,
do things. I may have to
absolutely.
deliver bad news, right? I may have to say that we made a mistake because we are all
Mm-hmm.
human beings and we make a mistake. But when you work with us or work for us, you will always know that the truth will be told. You won't have to think about whether we're, playing backhanded or
Right.
telling you a story that you have to figure out because that's just not who we are.
Right.
So integrity is the first one. Um, Kylie, talk to me about this one.
Well, this is one I think the team appreciates because it starts with you, of course. Not hiring our next person until you can afford to pay a reasonable living wage. I think we see this in the stereotypical corporate America a lot right now. As expenses and the cost of living increase, most incomes aren't increasing at that same trajectory, right? So with us
Yep.
internally, if we are not able to pay the next person we hire what we define as a living wage, we're not going to hire that person. And I think that we
Right.
see in a lot of other cultures, people come to work to get paid to live, to fund their life. And I think a dangerous sort of trend that we see in corporate America is that idea of giving your time for a wage that doesn't necessarily support your ability to pay your bills and live. So for us, it's important to kind of grow in a way that we deem as ethical, and we think that that kind of plays into our integrity as a company.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I also see so many um, entry level positions that are
Hmm.
requiring all kinds of experience and paying $15 an hour.
Yeah.
Oh
Right.
God. I mean, have some respect.
Yeah.
I mean,
No kidding.
it's not all about that. And if you're paying somebody garbage wages, how do you expect them to be loyal and committed to your company?
Exactly.
So it's a
And
really
motivated,
important,
really. Yeah.
yeah. Instead of spending their time, looking for their next job, because
Right.
there's a huge swath of the population right now that is actively disengaged from their work. And
Yeah.
one of the reasons people get that way is if they're not paid a living wage. So
Yeah.
that's a big factor. If you aren't comfortable with your ability to take on a new project, don't do it. If you haven't done it, bring in someone who can help, who has done it. But this is part of that integrity is if we don't do it, we don't say that we do and then try to figure it out so that we fail because we
Hmm.
don't ever want to fail the client. We want to keep the client long term. So that's
Right.
really important. You hear people say, I kind of go back and forth with who's the guy that owns Virgin Airlines, Richard Branson. He has the Virgin Records, Virgin Airlines. And he
Hmm.
says, just take it on and find the people and go. Not always the best advice. Not always the best advice. If it's not something that's in your wheelhouse and you can't do it well,
Hmm.
consider finding someone else to do it well and referring the business. So,
Right.
another part of integrity is if you make a mistake, own up to it. I messed up. I screwed up. My humanity is showing. Those are a few of my
Hmm.
favorite ways to address mistakes is, oh, your humanity is showing out in full force today because we all make mistakes. We're all human and it's okay. So that's a real quick one. Kindness. Start at the top. Go ahead, Kylie.
Yeah, exactly. I think another great example of, culture being a trickle down effect. When you are kind to your employees, when you are kind to your vendors, when you are kind to your clients, as we said, you're not always necessarily going to get it in return. However, internal culture, when you are kind to the people on your team, it creates that level of mutual respect. It makes your team feel respected, feel valued, feel empowered to want to do good work, and it creates
Hmm.
a level of connectedness with you and everybody else on your team that we respect each other, we're kind to one another, we have grace for each other, we're willing to help one another when the time comes and somebody needs it. So really just in every layer of not just business but humanity, it goes in it creates a culture where everybody cares about one another, is willing to show it through work and through just being human. So I think it's really important to not just be a good person, which we all should be doing, but it goes and it motivates your team to want to do better work for you, for your clients.
Don't just be a good person. Act like a good person.
Yeah, exactly.
Act
Exactly.
like a good person. That can be really hard sometimes. It's
Yeah.
not that I don't come into a morning huddle some days and say, "Oh, I am not feeling it, guys." And I have done that. It's infrequent, but I have done that. And You just like own it and talk about it, and don't let your bad day become anybody else's bad day. It's just
Well,
that's not what it's about.
what's interesting about that, kind of coming from the other side too, is on the rare occasion where you do have days like that, or I do, or anybody on our team does, because we've created that culture of kindness. Everybody else then is so willing to step up and say, "What can I take off your plate then? How can I support you to get through today?" So it really is.
Yes,
It saves you on your bad days, and it can save anybody on the team when they need it too. So it's a special thing.
absolutely. And basically, we have the no asshole rule.
Yeah, exactly.
I
This
don't
is
know
a
why I
nice
keep
way of
saying that
saying
when I'm
it.
loud. I feel very strongly about that one. You can tell
Mhm,
very, very strongly. We just aren't here for it because it doesn't serve us or our business.
mhm,
Show grace when mistakes are made. We talked about that earlier. Human errors happen. Live
mhm,
and learn. Try not to make the
mhm,
same mistakes over and over, but mistakes are one of the ways that you learn. And I always say if you never make a mistake, you must not be doing anything.
mhm.
So, keep going, just, learn from it, shake it off, and move on. And I think we're really good at that.
Yeah.
So, and Kylie, this one is a good one.
Yeah, I think so. And kind of what we were saying before, when you show genuine care and interest in your people, whether that is your team, your clients, your vendors, it, in a lot of cases, in most cases, I would say, in our experience, it becomes very reciprocated, and it allows the people on your team to feel comfortable showing up as they are, feel
Mm,
okay having a bad day, as opposed to just internalizing and beating themselves up and maybe not being productive. And it gives us the space to be able to show up to our morning huddles and say, I'm not having a great day today. I need support. When you show genuine care, it allows the best work to get done consistently. So not only is it the right thing to do just as humans, because it's all we all are, but I think it also plays a role in getting better work done when you feel genuinely cared for by leadership.
absolutely. Enthusiasm. This is my big thing. I've been known as the most enthusiastic person in the room since I was in high school, 10th grade. And it is really important to do something that you're passionate about. So when we hire, we look for people who are passionate about social media, digital marketing, customer service, helping other people. I had a test I used to do. Kylie, I don't know if you know about this. I used to run a television production studio, and when I hired people, I'd bring them in for the interview, and I would purposefully be about 10 minutes late. And then I would ask the person, they would sit in the lobby with the receptionist and wait 10 minutes. And I would ask the person in the lobby, what did they do? Did they talk to you? Did they act impatient? What did they do? Because when things aren't going your way, that's when your true colors will shine. So the people that sat and chatted with the receptionist, made conversation, and were friendly got more points than the one that just
Mhm.
sat there quietly looking at their watch,
I didn't
because
know that. I love
passion
that.
is huge. Isn't that a great story?
Yeah,
I'm
that
not sure if it's
is.
considered, I don't know if it's considered polite, but it's very
Okay.
telling. And I
Yep.
know I wrote a book called Who's Your Gladys, customer service book. And Singapore Airlines has a chapter in our book. It came out in 2008. It's called Who's Your
Mhm.
Gladys, How to Turn Even the Most Difficult Customer into Your Biggest Fan. And Singapore Airlines had, we learned this from them. They had a process wherein they would bring all the flight attendant people, prospects, people they were considering hiring, bring them all into a room for the interview at the same time. And I think this was in Singapore, so it was in, an Asian country. It wasn't in the US, but they would set up a tea service in the middle of the room. Only those people who offered to serve tea to the other people in the room went out to the next step in the interview process.
Oh, wow.
Those who were proactive about serving their people that were in the room with them were the ones that moved forward, that had a service orientation. So when you're hiring, figure out ways to get to that passion, to get to that enthusiasm so that you know you're hiring somebody who's really going to bring that energy to the office because
Mhm.
enthusiasm does bring an energy that is just, unstoppable.
Mhm.
Okay, what does this one? Now this is part of the enthusiasm.
Yes.
How
Yeah,
does how
absolutely.
does this help you be enthusiastic?
Well, I think generally speaking on our team, amplifying diverse, marginalized voices is very important to all of us. So when we take on clients, which we have two coming to the top of my head where this is, the heart of the work is amplifying these voices. It's really easy for us as a unit to get excited about that because it's something that's so important. Um, and I think for us, getting enthusiastic and excited is largely based on the work that we're doing when we're doing it for good causes, for good people, for a great product, whatever that may be. And this is just a great example of something that as an entire team really matters to us. So we prioritize taking on projects as often as we can where we're able to do work in marginalized communities and for nonprofits and things of that nature. So whatever that means for you, we always suggest and recommend using your power for good. But whatever it is that really speaks to your team and matters to you as a whole, I think that's a great place to start to get enthusiastic.
Absolutely. And enthusiasm comes when you feel empowered and excited by the work. So going out and getting, as the owner of the company, going out and getting clients that the team can be excited about is part of that process. I did the US Small Business Association Thrive program, and they redefined the entrepreneurial CEO to me as someone who keeps the revenue coming in the door. And I thought that was really interesting because a lot of CEOs don't necessarily start with that. And you have to start with that. And you have to bring in clients that your people can be excited about and
Mhm.
then let them do the work. So
Yeah.
that inspires enthusiasm. So why does enthusiasm work? Because, and why does culture work? Or why is it so important? Because solid company culture trickles down. When you hire good people, let them do good work, they'll spread good vibes, and the cycle continues. And that's kind of who we like to be, right,
Mhm.
Kylie?
Yeah, absolutely.
So basically, we did this today to just give you a look into our culture. Hopefully, we've dropped a few fun tips that you can use. And we always like to end by reminding you that we are always up for adding a few positive, fun clients to our roster. And if our culture resonates with you, please get in touch with me. I am an open networker on LinkedIn and would love to hear from you. So thank you so much for joining me today, Kylie, and to anyone in our audience who is either watching live or in the recording. Take care, everybody, and you'll see us again in a couple of weeks.
Thanks, everyone.